Welcome to the webinar, everyone. My name is Josh Lerner. I'm Executive Director of People Powered. We will get started in just a few minutes. In the meantime, please select the interpretation language that you would prefer. If you'd like interpretation in Portuguese, in Spanish, in French, we will have interpretation into English later as well from Portuguese. And please also say hi in the chat if you'd like. And you can introduce yourself, writing your name, your organization, and your country. We will be starting in just a minute for the launch of the Participation Playbook. So please introduce yourself in the chat, write your name, organization, and country. You can choose the interpretation options if you'd like to have interpretation into Portuguese, Spanish, or French. If you want to hear the interpreted language only, you can click Mute Original Language. It's great to see people coming in. Welcome, welcome. We have a great lineup today and a great group of participants as well. We're already at 100. We'll get started in just a minute. But my name is Josh Lerner. I'm Executive Director of People Powered, and I'll be facilitating the session today. And if you just joined, please click the language that you would like interpretation into. If you'd like interpretation in Portuguese, in Spanish, or French. We also will have interpretation into English from Portuguese later. So if you don't understand Portuguese, you'll need to use the interpretation function later. So you can look for it now and see where it is so that you're able to turn it on later. Or you can select English now, even if you like. And please also introduce yourself in the chat. So share your name, your organization or institution, your country, and welcome to the call, the webinar. We'll be sharing a recording of the webinar and all the resources that we discuss on it after the call. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to ask in the chat if we'll share the recording. We always do. So you will have access to everything that we are sharing today afterwards. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to see all of you here. So we're about to get started. Again, my name is Josh Lerner. I'm Executive Director of People Powered. We're a global hub for participatory democracy. And I'll be acting as facilitator for today's launch of the Participation Playbook. And if you're just arriving, please introduce yourself in the chat, share your name, organization, and location, and you can click the interpretation function as well if you would like interpretation in English, Spanish, French, or Portuguese. So let's get started. So I'm thrilled to have you here today for the launch of the Participation Playbook. For the next hour, we'll be walking you through the playbook and how it can support your work. So welcome again. And we're thrilled to have a bunch of partners here on the webinar and who've been supporting the development of the Participation Playbook. So this event is really a collective effort with our partners and funders, including the Hewlett Foundation, Ford Foundation, Forticus, National Endowment for Democracy, Open Society Foundations, Waverly Street Foundation, World Resources Institute, International Republican Institute, National Democratic Institute, Delibera Brazil, the Open Government Partnership, Transparency and Accountability Initiative, and the International Observatory on Participatory Democracy. Ooh, that's a lot. But we couldn't have done this without all of those partners. So what will we do today? We will start by talking about what the Participation Playbook is and how its content and design can hopefully help you, and how it's really been synthesizing a lot of the work that you all have been doing and making that more accessible. We will go through how we created the playbook and the community of people that developed it. We'll talk about how the playbook and People Powered programs can support your work. and then next steps for you to make the most of the playbook. And we'll be joined by a great set of speakers who will talk about their experience developing and using the playbook, including Patricia Marquez from the City of Sao Paulo government, Karen Adams from Delibera Brazil, Nyasha Frank Fallo from the Green Governance Trust Zimbabwe, Jesse Worker from the World Resources Institute, Taya Crum from the University of Illinois Chicago Great Cities Institute, and also my colleague Nikhil Kumar, and a few others will be speaking up as well. So those are some of our speakers for today. And with that, I will pass it off to my colleague Clara Bois.
Welcome everyone to the Playbook launch. I'm Clara, Program Director at People Powered, and it's my pleasure to give you a brief introduction of our work at PP. So first, let me talk about our mission. We need to think about democracy beyond elections. Fair elections are certainly important, but they are not enough to give people a seat at the table. So that's why we support organizations and governments that are building participatory and deliberative democracy around the world. So what do? We create pathways for policy change. We develop resources and offer capacity building opportunities to help civil society organizations and governments to work together to develop policies in a participatory way. The Participation Playbook is one example of a resource we developed to advance these kinds of initiatives and make it easy for policymakers, advocates, and decision makers to advocate for and plan participatory programs. And we also build a community of practice. We bring together participatory democracy advocates from around the world so they can do more together. Our members decide on the projects to prioritize, thus addressing common needs of this community. Again, the playbook is another example of a resource prioritized by our members through our organization's internal participatory budgeting process. So if you are interested in being part of this community, get in touch with us after the launch. Thank you all for joining, and back to you, Josh.
Great, thank you so much, Clara. So we want to open it up to you briefly and to invite some participation before we talk about the participation playbook. So take a minute, and in the chat, can you share a main challenge to starting or supporting participatory programs? So what is a challenge that you have faced when you have tried to start or support or improve participatory programs? To get a sense for what are the main issues out there in the field, and then we'll talk about hopefully how the playbook can support that. So in the chat, tell us a main challenge to starting or supporting participatory programs. Okay, see funding, incomprehension from local council, getting buy-in from relevant stakeholders. Organizations see it as a time-consuming process. It takes too much time. Participation fatigue. There's resistance to new ideas. Communication about the process. Having political will. Convincing skeptics. A commitment to acting on the outputs. Challenge getting everyone involved and getting the word out. Mobilizing underserved or underrepresented populations. Apathy or lack of will. Not having the right structure or method for managing the project. So a lot of common challenges, and this is really what we see around the world, that a lot of the challenges you're experiencing, they're not just you. These are common challenges that are experienced all over. They may look different in different places, but they are common around the world. And the playbook is really an effort to address these common challenges through some shared solutions and support for you all. So I will pass it off to my colleague Nikhil Kumar to introduce the playbook.
Thanks, Josh, and thank you to everyone for being here. I'm personally very happy to be here to share this resource, which we've been co-creating with the global participatory democracy community for the past 4 years. And hopefully it can help, as Josh just said, to address the challenges that you shared. So what is the Participation Playbook? Next slide, please. The Playbook is an interactive online guide to help advocates and government reformers win approval for and implement a participatory program. The Playbook is also a long-term global infrastructure for practical knowledge on advocacy, design, implementation, and evaluation of participatory democracy programs. We're synthesizing knowledge that's already out there. Through discussions and collaborations with our community, we recognize that while many resources providing guidance on participatory programs already exist, it can be difficult for advocates and policymakers to find accessible and relevant practical guidance for their context. And the quality of participatory programs varies widely, with many failing to address common challenges or deliver equitable outcomes. So to address these issues, the Playbook synthesizes global knowledge on participation and makes it widely available in an accessible format. And we involve dozens of people and organizations who have researched, advocated for, designed, implemented, and evaluated participatory programs around the world. So the Playbook offers step-by-step guidance on 4 main participation solutions: participatory policymaking, citizens' assemblies and juries, participatory budgeting, and legislative theater. It also includes specific content for climate-focused programs, which Jesse Worker will talk a little bit more about in a bit. And these are just the first 4 modules that we developed. And we hope to develop more content over time so that the Playbook is relevant for a range of democratic innovations and institutional contexts. The Playbook is for 3 main audiences: advocates who are activists in civil society organizations and government trying to win approval for participatory programs, policymakers who are tasked with planning the programs, and program managers who are implementing the programs. And we recognize that many people wear more than one of these hats, but the Playbook can be useful for anyone acting in one or all of these roles. So if you want to build just an advocacy plan or just an implementation plan, you can do that. Or you can build a plan for every stage of the process. So what's in the Playbook? The Playbook content is structured primarily around key design questions and options to guide users' thinking, along with relevant resources, data, and information to help them answer the questions so that they can make informed decisions based on lessons learned from participatory practice around the world. After completing all of the questionnaires, users will have a plan for each stage of the participatory process, including examples, resources, and help text. So rather than a classic playbook that prescribes exactly what practitioners should do, the idea is that the user comes away with a customized action plan, their personal playbook, tailored to their situation. And in a little bit, you'll see a demo of the playbook's key features from my colleague, Maria. So after this event, here's what you can do to take action. Keep in mind that the playbook is a dynamic tool that will get better the more it's used. So we invite you to help us develop it further. First, as you're using the playbook, give us your feedback through the form you'll find on the site. We'll revise it regularly to improve the content and user experience. Second, if you're organizing a capacity building program, you can also use the playbook as a resource. Karen from Delibera Brazil will be sharing more on that soon. And third, help us fund the continued development of the playbook, such as creating new modules for different policy challenges and institutions. And we also invite you to apply for support through our Rising Stars mentorship and our accelerator programs. Through these programs, you'll receive personalized guidance from a seasoned practitioner as you're completing your playbook. And we'll be opening up applications for the next cohort of the Climate Democracy Accelerator in October, so keep an eye out. Last but not least, you can book a free 30-minute consultation with me. I would love to talk with you. Together, we can figure out how the playbook can support your work. And now I'll pass the mic to Taya Crum from UIC Great Cities Institute, and also Senior Fellow and Lead Editor of the Playbook's Participatory Budgeting content, to share more about how we created this resource. Over to you, Taya.
Thanks so much, Nikal. I'm Taya Crum. I am the Associate Director of Neighborhoods Initiative at the Great Cities Institute. And as Nikal mentioned, I was the lead content editor of the Participatory Budgeting Playbook. Most of my work has been in Chicago and in the US, where since 2012, I've worked with elected officials and teachers at public schools on the design and implementation of their PB processes, as well as conducting evaluations on those processes with the overall aim of expanding participatory budgeting across the city. Working on the playbook has been just an amazing opportunity to learn from so many people in the global community about how they have been advocating for and designing and implementing participatory democracy, what was similar and unique about their processes, and then synthesizing all of that information to develop an interactive guide that reflects all of that collective wisdom and experience. It was really, truly a labor of love, and I'm excited to be here today to talk a little bit about how the Participation Playbook was created. The design and development was a collaborative effort and included 4 main stages. First, lead editors with years of research and on-the-ground experience in the design, implementation, and evaluation of participatory programs drafted key questions for planning the participatory programs of their expertise. And for each of these questions, they prepared options, relevant background and help content, and a short list of recommended resources. Every stage has been participatory, even the start with the initial drafting of questions and options. The content was crowdsourced through workshops with experts from around the world to gather all kinds of information and to make sure that we were ensuring that every question and option was as relevant to on-the-ground practitioners as possible. Second, over the past years, dozens of people-powered members and partners and program participants reviewed the content and tested the playbook. They provided feedback on everything from the content to the user experience and suggested additional resources for their local context. All in all, experts from over 30 countries participated in providing content expertise that's been incorporated into the playbooks. Next, lead editors have used this input to revise and improve the content. The ultimate goal is to make sure that the playbook meets the needs of diverse practitioners around the globe. And lastly, every year, as Nikal mentioned, we'll continue to refine the content of the platform and the user experience with your input. Playbook's intended to be a living resource that can continue to evolve as it's used and as new feedback is provided. So now that you've heard a little bit about how it's created, let's meet the Playbook team. So the content editors include, you've already met me, but I want you to meet Katie Rubin, who was the lead content editor for the Legislative Theater, and also Rocio Annunciata, who was the content editor for participatory policymaking. Sylvia Cervellini was the lead content editor for participatory citizens assemblies, and Jesse Worker, the content editor for climate assemblies. web developers who helped bring the content to life and turn it into an interactive playbook where you can really choose your own adventure in a useful and meaningful way include Maria Jimenez and Noel Cardenas, and the people-powered lead staff who provided expertise and connected the broader people-powered community together to ensure the process was participatory and collective include Clara Boyce, Nikhil Kumar, Anna Giovanni, and Maria Lucen. Now that you've heard a little bit about how the playbook was created, I'm going to hand it over to Maria to share more about how it works and provide a demo. Maria?
Hi, I'm Maria Lucien, and I'm the Resource Fellow at People Powered. I'm excited to show you 5 key features of the playbook that will help you take your participatory programs to the next level. You can think of the playbook as your co-pilot on the journey to meaningful and equitable community participation. If you're not sure which participation solution is right for your situation, the playbook can help. Simply answer a few questions on our needs assessment wizard, and you'll get a recommendation for the type of participatory program, participatory budgeting, legislative theater, citizens' assemblies, or participatory policymaking that would best suit your situation. Once you've completed the needs assessment, click on Build Your Playbook to start planning your chosen participatory program. The playbook gives you the independence to make the design choices that make sense for your situation, but it also presents just-in-time knowledge based on global best practices to help you make informed choices. Take this question about what type of digital platform will be used for a participatory policymaking process. If the user selects a platform created by the government specifically for participatory processes, they're prompted with a note to take into account that this alternative may be expensive and require previous experience in platform use. This message, based on the expertise of practitioners from around the world, is just one example of how the playbook can act as a real-time guide in your planning journey. We know that programs aren't necessarily inclusive or equitable just because they're participatory. It all depends on the process design choices you make. That's why we've embedded guidance on how to make your participatory process as inclusive as possible, with equitable outcomes that help to correct historical injustice. For example, this question about planning idea collection events for a participatory budgeting program includes help text, encouraging the user to create a safe space for participation, especially when involving historically marginalized groups. Just as participation is about bringing more people to the decision-making table, participatory programs succeed when they're planned in a collaborative way. We've included a collaborators tool so that you can share your playbook with colleagues, mentors, and stakeholders while your action plan is still a work in progress. This feature will facilitate discussions as you're making the tough choices about your participatory program. Once you've answered all of the design questions needed to advocate for, plan, and/or implement a participatory program, the playbook will generate an action plan tailored to your situation. Along with the choices you've selected, you'll have help text, important considerations, and context-specific resources at your fingertips. For example, this plan for a climate-focused legislative theater program includes a project schedule template that you can adapt to your situation. With your personalized playbook in hand, you'll be able to get started on your participatory program right away. As you can see, the playbook is more than a guide. It's a dynamic tool that meets you where you are as you advocate for, plan, or implement a participatory program. But don't take my word for it. Try it out for yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maria. And I love the energy that Maria brings to that video. So that gave you just a taste of what the playbook is like, but really do dive in and see it for yourself. And so you'll be able to test it out and see all the questions. There's 4 years of work that went into this. There's a lot of information in there. So next, I want to talk about how the playbook can support your work and how you can hopefully use this to advance your goals. We made this for you. And so there are four main ways that the playbook can support your work. It can help you to plan a new participatory program, to improve an existing participatory program, to advocate and build capacity for new programs, or to support effective and equitable participation at the regional or global level across multiple programs, if you're an international organization or funder. So to go into a bit more detail on how these work. So the first approach is to plan a new participatory program. And we will have some more information on all this in a second and some examples. So this is one example from the Green Governance Trust in Zimbabwe, which you'll hear from in a minute. They were actually one of the grant recipients from the first Climate Democracy Accelerator. And then beyond that, if you already have an existing program, then you can use it to improve the program that you have. And we'll hear about the experience in Sao Paulo on that. So this can help you take your current program to the next level. You can also use it to advocate or build capacity for a new program. So maybe you're a civil society organization or you're a government reformer who doesn't have a program approved yet and you want to win approval. You can use this to develop a roadmap and an action plan for how you will win support to launch a new program in your location. And we'll hear more from Delibera Brazil's experience with that. And finally, you can use the playbook to support effective and equitable participation regionally or globally. And this is actually how we developed the playbook, was by working with international partners who wanted to support participation and collaborating with them to develop the playbook content and then use it in their programs. So you can use it to synthesize knowledge on a specific topic, like we've done for participatory budgeting and for climate-focused participatory and deliberative programs. And you could also use it to inspire new, more innovative programs by supporting a cohort of practitioners to develop new programs. And this is something we've been doing through our accelerator programs with partners. So we'll go into more detail on all of these in next few minutes. And I'm going to first pass it over to Frank from the Zimbabwe experience to share how they planned a new program using the Participation Playbook.
Hello everyone, my name is Nyasha Frank Mpatlo, and I'm the Director for Green Governance Zimbabwe Trust, a public interest institution that seeks to promote citizen participation and inclusion in climate change decision-making processes in Zimbabwe. Earlier this year, I got to participate in the Climate Democracy Action Program, which was a great privilege for myself and my organization to be able to enhance and improve our intervention logic when it comes to influencing policy. In that regard, I chose to work on the legislative theater approach through the guidance of Katie Rubin. This comes after our council, which is the Chimanimani Rural District Council, developed the Chimanimani Climate Change and Watershed Policy in response to the cyclone Idai of 2019 that was devastating and led to the displacement of 100,000 people, the death of more than 360 people, and of course, destruction of livelihoods and property. In that regard, the climate change and watershed policy was designed to ensure that we improve the adaptive capacity of this climate change prone community of Chimanimani. 5 years later, we still do not have a functional climate change and watershed policy or an institution thereof that supports the implementation of this piece of document. As an institution which works with young people, we sought out to ensure that we enhance and we advocate for the implementation of such a policy so that we avoid the disasters that are associated with climate change within our community. Therefore, we thought and we actually understood that the legislative theater approach would be a unique approach that we have never used before, and that could work to ensure that the climate change and watershed policy is brought to life. Through the guidance of Katie Rubin, of course, we managed to put together a group of young people that are motivated to push climate change issues. We managed to develop various scenarios which depicts the impact that the climate change has in the short to long term when climate disasters strike. We also managed to ensure that the young people have got theater skills to be able to express these emotions and what happens to young people, to women, and other disadvantaged communities in the event of climate change incidences. As we went ahead to develop our legislative theater, we started to also involve the duty bearers and the decision makers within our community so that they also understand what we are trying to communicate. We could see that as we developed this theater, there was consensus building, there was dialogue, there was engagement between young people and duty bearers and traditional leaders, something that was very difficult to do before we engaged this approach. Furthermore, we also saw that there was increased understanding and appreciation of community views and needs by duty bearers through this approach, which has never been used before. After which, we managed to conduct 3 legislative theatre sessions, one in Chimanimani Ward 22 and another one in Chimanimani Ward 21. And we could see that there was appreciation of this approach and there was more deep understanding of what communities face in the event of climate change, especially when policies such as the climate change and watershed policy are not implemented. We managed to also implement the main arena legislative theatre, which we conducted at the Chimanimani Rural District Council. Various stakeholders managed to be part of the legislative theatre session, which include the Ministry of Environment itself, the Environmental Management Agency, other community-based organizations, the Agricultural Extension Services, the Civil Protection Unit, as well as the Chimanimani Rural District Council itself. There were also traditional leaders who also were part of this process. At the end of this process, 3 main commitments were made. The first commitment was that the council committed to ensure that 5% of the council budget is allocated towards implementing the climate change and watershed policy. Secondly, a commitment was made to ensure that young people are part of the decision-making processes. As we speak, 20 young people from Green Governance Zimbabwe community structures are part of the full council meeting, and they're able to make decisions that are aligned to climate issues. Thirdly, the council also committed to review bylaws which were outdated and do not speak to the current realities of climate impacts that are being faced. This was a success story that we as an institution are grateful for and which we will continue to use within our climate change approaches and others. We would like to share that this was a success story that we believe, if used properly, even by other institutions, would be able to make a lasting impact to ensure that policy implementation, policy review itself, and policy development on climate issues is more inclusive and feasible with the inclusion of communities, particularly vulnerable communities such as young people, of course women, the disabled, and others. We are thankful for this opportunity and we wish you the best in this project. Thank you.
What a fantastic example of using the playbook to design a program that really delivers. And I think, as many of you know, it's really hard to design and implement an inclusive, equitable, participatory program, and especially in contexts where that hasn't been done before. And so you just saw how Frank was able to set his community up for success by using the playbook to ask and answer the right questions and get the right support to have a program that works in his context and that is making a difference right now in climate policy. So that's a great example of how you can use the playbook to start and plan a new program. We'll talk now about how you can use the playbook to improve an existing program, and Patricia Marquez from Sao Paulo will speak. She will be speaking in Portuguese, So if you don't speak Portuguese, please select the interpretation function now. Take a minute to select in English or other language that you prefer. And that way you'll be able to understand the fantastic story that Patricia will share. So again, take a second now to select the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen if you don't speak Portuguese. And I will pass it off to Patricia to share how the City of Sao Paulo used the playbook to improve an existing participatory program.
Hello, good morning to all. First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here, invited by People Powered, being part of this program. The playbook is a very interesting, very useful tool. We learned about the tool last year, and we were really excited about the potential the playbook brings us. So my name is Patricia Marques. I coordinate open government for the city of São Paulo in Brazil. And our country, Brazil, is a reference in budgeting with social participation. Of course, in the period of democratization since 1989. The city of São Paulo is a huge city. We are 12 million people, or just about 12 million. We recognize the importance of building public policies that are participative. So this movement has been very relevant. Our city has a specific department that works with open government. We work with accountability, transparency, technology, to help propagate these pillars in our town. Our budget is also built with social participation. Since 2019, it was redesigned, and from 2020, it was designed, it became entirely online. And the platform Participe Mais came online. It is a social platform. It uses a code which is called Console from Madrid. And this is a platform we use to build public policy. The process from designing the budget for our city and the platform were built in a participatory manner with organizations from civil society. It was designed with many hands. After the pandemic, our budget has taken on a hybrid model. It takes place both online and presentially. And so using the playbook enters into this moment in which we are rethinking this format and this structure of our citizen budget, because we have found in its editions, and we are already in its fourth editions, we have seen a decline in participation. So we started working with the playbook 2 weeks ago. We had access to the beta version. I would like to thank you very much for helping us to test the beta version. We started to look at our work. Even though we didn't start with a playbook from naught, I think that it will really help us bring that shine back into our eyes to improve our participatory process. We have begun using the playbook for awareness raising. How to raise awareness, how to bring people closer. Who are the players who are involved? Do we need public players? And we have come across key questions which have led the teams to think in a way which is, in a certain sense, more structure. And we started to think, where do we want to go? What is our next step? So the playbook has been exceptional for us in the sense that it has opened our eyes. We're already hooked on the process. We have had 4 editions of our participatory budget, but it's very interesting to look at our process from another point of view. And after we have started thinking, we will find that we will have tools that we can use. We will find videos, we will find experiences from other places, which can even help us and bring an incentive in seeing that doing things differently can help. Participe Mais is a program which we brought to Sao Paulo after Madrid had consolidated the platform. It was first begun in 2015. So it grew, and so we brought it on board, being sure that it is mature. And so this exchange, which might even call a benchmarking, helps us research other initiatives. Are they doing more or less what we are doing? We believe this is very interesting. And one of the issues that we can do here right now is a course, and certainly the playbook will be part of our references, and we will pass that along. Thank you so much. Josh, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patricia. So that was a great example of how you can use the playbook to improve an existing program, to benchmark it, to bring new ideas and new energy into the program that you already have. You may be at a civil society organization or in government and not have a program, and you want to start something. So don't worry, this is for you as well. So the next speaker will share how you can use the playbook to plan or to build capacity around participatory programs to start something new in your community or region. So I'll pass it off to Karen Adams from Delibera Brazil.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everyone. Hi, so yes, as mentioned, my name is Karen Adams. I'm a project coordinator at Delibera Brazil. Delibera's mission is to deepen and strengthen Brazilian democracy through the methodology of citizen deliberation. And we do this in a few capacities, both as practitioners, but also as enablers. And we also do advocacy work for greater participation throughout the country. We are proud members of People Powered, which is why I'm really glad to be here as part of this launch, to celebrate the launch of the Participation Playbook. We believe that promoting quality participation throughout the world is a major task. And if we are to live up to this task, we can't only rely on our organizations alone. We need help, all the help we can get. And this is what we try to do with De Cidadania. De Cidadania is an initiative that expands participatory democracy through the citizens' assemblies. We have, in the past few years, made a conscious effort to systematize years of knowledge and of practical experience in those steps to help other actors to be empowered to conduct their own citizens' assemblies. We did this in two different programs. One focused on other CSOs that conducted their own citizens' assemblies, and the other one was focused on Congress people, like local governments, local leaderships. And our goal was to really build with them and make them see the value of engaging in quality participation initiatives, but also that also leads to better public decision making. I think the Participation Playbook, we didn't have this at the time when we did this program, but I think it does come in to help achieve this major task of actually enabling a lot of other actors to be allies in this joint mission. I think the Participation Playbook is a tool that contributes to creating this capacity in participation techniques among other actors. And in this way, it helps democratizing the methodology and multiplying also the potential impact of participation in decision-making. We saw this like before the participation playbook. We saw that even with partners that didn't in the end implement the citizens' assemblies, they were somehow, everyone that got in touch with this methodology is now a potential driver in their own localities. And now we have, within Delibera Brasil, we have a queue of around 40 citizens in Brazil that want to do their participatory processes. Of course, our ways of contributing with them is limited because we're a small organization. So we think that having this participation playbook will actually be a great value in helping multiply, really, the multiplier effect in which we really believe. That's why I think it adds an immense value to this common task of turning public decision-making more inclusive and better qualified through participation. We have been a part of the participation playbook development and implementation, and we're really looking forward to all the new participation plans that will occur when leaders across the world use the playbook and develop their own specific plans with help of the mentorship. So thank you for involving us, for inviting us to be a part of this day. And yeah, we're looking forward to the next steps.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. That's a great example of how you all can use the playbook as an advocacy tool and for supporting your programs. And we're really eager to collaborate with other organizations. So if you're planning a campaign and you want to use the playbook, get in touch, and it's very customizable. We can work with you to make it useful for your program. And last but not least, I'll bring on Jesse Worker from the World Resources Institute to talk about how you can use the playbook to support programs at a larger scale. And this is actually how we developed the playbook for the most part, was working with other international organizations like the World Resources Institute, National Democratic Institute, and the International Republic Institute to develop content that they could then use in their programming. And so it's really a win-win for both sides. So Jesse will talk about how we develop the playbook for climate democracy. Jesse.
Thank you, Josh. And hello, everyone. I had the pleasure of working with the People Power team over the last few years under the support of the Porticus Foundation to help develop the climate assemblies module of the participation playbook, and as well as to provide support to the initial climate democracy accelerator cohort of participants. And you heard from Frank earlier. I wanted to just share with you from my perspective. I work as the acting director of the environmental democracy practice at the World Resources Institute. And specifically, I work on strengthening climate governance, making sure that everybody who needs access to information to be able to participate in decisions that affect them and to seek justice and accountability have the right and ability to do so. So I have watched over the years the evolution of participatory approaches in climate and supported governments and civil society to strengthen those approaches. And one of the things that I think stands out, especially for climate, is that we need a range of participatory approaches to match the context that governments and civil societies are working in. So for instance, for local government working on climate disaster response or trying to implement measures to protect water resources, those types of participatory approaches might be different than a national government that is working on a just transition and considering a wide range of sectors and different social groups. And so what's really important and outstanding about the playbook is that it's adaptable in that it meets users where they are, but also understands that different types of participatory approaches are going to be needed for different types of decisions. Climate change is notoriously complex and requires a range of different types of information. It means not only that for civil society, but also for the government decision makers that are implementing it. And so the playbook really provides that step-by-step approach towards how to assess if who is affected by this policy that you're thinking about. How are you going about proactively including these groups? What is going to make participation meaningful? That's a term that's thrown around a lot. This is a tool that really both responds to the needs of governments and civil society to break that down into step-by-step elements to help them reach that, what's going to make it meaningful, and also does away with the excuses of, well, you know, we had a public forum and we had some civil society show up, and so now we're done with that process. We know that that sort of late stage consultative participation is too often what's done, when at times we need to really bring civil society in at an earlier stage, help them understand the risks and benefits of different proposals, how they can benefit and how they can be involved. And so that's why it's so critically important. We collaborated to develop the Climate Assemblies module and the first iteration of the Climate Democracy Action Program. Why I think it was so important to do this was because while there have been participatory approaches for climate, there's a lot of new information and new learning and experience, especially around deliberative forms of climate assemblies. Recognizing that climate change is deeply unjust and unfair, that some people in society will feel the burdens worse and have less resources to respond to them. Climate assemblies has been a way of ensuring that there is representation across society, not only those interest groups that are that maybe have more resources and political access, but all members of society. And so the playbook enables them to really plan these approaches, which take time and careful design and consideration to plan and implement them. And in fact, another organization, FEMA in Chile, was able to do that with the Participation Playbook and implemented the first climate assembly ever in Chile with the support of the playbook. I can also say definitely that other members of the Climate Democracy Action Program have achieved outcomes, like you heard from Frank. There are others as well. So I think that it's really responding to a critical need across the global community. But I also just wanted to say something about the approach that People Powered used and why I think that's so important. I come from an organization that produces a lot of platforms. We have seen the benefits of platforms and we have seen the drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks is sometimes they don't meet their users' needs. They're not responsive to what their users need and how they're going to use them. And because of People Powered's membership-based model and the way that they work carefully with both government and civil society who they hope will use the product, I really think that this tool is well adapted. You've heard from them and you know that they have a long-term commitment to improve it and work with you. And that's why I think it's going to be a really important tool going forward to help decision makers who are sincere about these efforts to put it into action. And we're delighted and hope to see it grow and be used across the world in the future. So thank you, Josh, and everyone.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And it was really fantastic working with the World Resources Institute as well as a partner. And this wouldn't have been possible without their support as well. So thank you, Jesse. So now we're going to close out and talk about next steps and how you can take action. We're excited that you joined this session, but we don't want you to just go home and go on with your day. We want you to put this into action to use this for your work. And so I'll talk about the next steps and how you can use this. So first, the playbook is a work in progress, and so we invite you to help take it to the next level. We've been working on the playbook for the past 4 years. We expect to work on it for many more years. This is a long-term project, and we have some great content already, but we are working on a lot more, and we'd like to work with you to develop new content for the playbook and to improve the design. So please use it and give your feedback. There's a feedback form, and we really want to know user feedback. We've been testing it already with dozens of people around the world, but I'm sure that you will find new things. 2, we invite you to use it in your programs, in your capacity building programs, in your advocacy programs. This is a tool for you. And so it is free to use. You can use it. That said, it's more effective if used with human support. And so we really encourage you to talk with us and we can make the most of it together. But you can use it as you want. And 3, we would love more support to develop the playbook. And so that can be through collaborations, it can be through funding, that this can be a vehicle for you to synthesize knowledge and make it accessible and actionable for the communities that you work with. We also have a few upcoming opportunities for that human support. And so the 2 main ways that we have used the playbook so far and that we encourage you to use it, one is through our mentorship program, the Rising Stars mentorship program. You can apply for that now. We will match you with a mentor who is an expert and can help you do what you want to do. And they will help you use the playbook. They'll help you develop an action plan through the playbook. So you can use this QR code or go to our website and apply for mentorship now, or you can also share it with your networks, your grantees, your partners. Second is accelerator programs. And so Jesse mentioned the first accelerator program that we did around climate democracy. Thanks to the Waverly Street Foundation, we are extending that program. A new cohort is starting now. There will be a call for another cohort coming up, and we will have repeated calls for more cohorts, not just around climate democracy, but also other issues. And so sign up for our newsletter and you'll get the invitations to that. And that provides you with mentorship, but also training, some funding, and more support to help you use the playbook to develop an action plan. And finally, book a consultation with our team. So you can book a meeting with Nikhil to talk about how you can use the playbook for your work. And so we really welcome any ideas, creative ideas, whatever can be helpful for you, we want to do. And so you can sign up there or send Nikhil a message and talk with him about how the playbook can advance your work and help us to build a more participatory democracy together. So those are the main ways that we invite you to take action. So take a second to think about what you will do next. If you'll help to get feedback, to use the playbook in your program, to support further development. If you'll sign up for mentorship or for an accelerator program, if you'll share that with your community and your network. So please take a second to decide how you will take action and how you'll work with us to apply this great resource in your work. And finally, just want to give you contact information, how you can get in touch with us besides Nikhil. So if you would like to receive more updates on the playbook or on opportunities to get support for using it, you can sign up for our newsletter. We will send the calls for applications that will be coming out soon for the accelerator programs and funding to that list. So please take a second to sign up there, on our social media as well. And of course, you can go to the playbook right now, participationplaybook.org, create an account and play around with it, use it, let us know what you think. And we look forward to working with you all. We will send out the slides and the recording, so you'll have access to that, don't worry. And if you can, if you want anything else, please just let us know, and we look forward to working with you. So thank you to all the speakers and to all the partners who helped make this playbook possible. And we really look forward to working with you on the next steps. We will keep this up so you can write down information. And I love all the hearts and hand claps and thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thank you all for joining today.